Guys, it's the Peppermint Apes podcast, episode 3. In this video we're going to be talking about the lockdown. Is this the perfect time for musicians to shine on YouTube? And we'll talk about YouTube in general. But please subscribe, leave us a comment with any questions or any tips that you've got or anything you'd like us to help you with, and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/the Peppermint Apes.
But even so, this needs starting because ooh la la, I wanna dance for you, na na, I wanna be your hero.
How you all doing? Ron, okay?
Yeah, mate, we're all good.
How are you?
Getting by?
Yeah, not bad. Adapting to lockdown.
Yeah.
Just want to say, guys, as well, people that are watching this broadcast, that you can see everyone with microphones. I went into the garage where is my little studio bit, but my internet connection was so bad I had to move into the lounge. So hopefully the sound's good. But no, so our last podcast we couldn't avoid, coronavirus. That was coming up. We was talking about the local scene as well. Lewis, you couldn't make that one, as obviously you was getting ready for, the gender reveal of your newborn.
Yeah.
Turn out to be going to be a little girl, which is good.
Yeah, it's brilliant news.
Congrats.
Fantastic. I mean, but obviously we was talking about the local music scene, but obviously talking massively on the whole coronavirus, the pandemic that was coming out. Now at that time, it was quite new to us, wasn't it? It was it's still the unknown now. No one really knows what to expect, but I don't really think we kind of understood or could have predicted how serious it's become since that podcast. I mean, guys, what's your thoughts on everything since then?
Well, I mean, it was quite funny because when we was doing that podcast, Chris said at the time that we was 2 weeks behind Italy, and look at us now. We're our death toll, unfortunately, has risen astronomically, hasn't it? It's really gone up.
Yeah,
and that's just
3,000 now, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, it is, and it's crazy. So, kind of the prediction that you made, Chris, was right. That we're right behind Italy now.
Yeah. Well, I'm always right, so it's just the way it goes.
So obviously we're all in self-isolation now. So since then, obviously Boris Johnson has turned around and said, in order to try and prevent the spread, everyone stays at home. We are allowed to leave our homes, twice a day, basically. Well, you can go once for exercise and once to go shopping if it's essential.
Yeah.
But equally, on the other podcasts that we spoke about as well, we don't claim to be experts, do we, guys? We just guys. We have a conversation. We discuss things. I mentioned something I just want to bring up as well. I mentioned something on the podcast because I've got to give some friends that you talk to naturally as people. Coronavirus is a new thing, and one thing I did say in the podcast was there's traces of potentially HIV in coronavirus. Now since that podcast, I haven't really seen any sources to back up that comment. So I was obviously wrong with that. But Chris, I think you mentioned something about that as well, didn't you?
Yeah. So basically, I think, you're probably, as it happens to me as well, got your wires crossed slightly. But I think what maybe you'd meant to say was the fact that I think they're using the vaccine for HIV and modifying it slightly to use against coronavirus. But, again, I have seen sort of several articles explaining that, but we're not experts or anything. So, but so I think maybe that's what you was kind of meant by it.
Yeah, it's the unknown. But if anyone saw that, apologies if any offence was taken. But no, Lewis, obviously you wasn't in that podcast. I mean, what's your views? I mean, you can't escape it. You don't be talking about it forever. You want to sort of be positive, but what's your thoughts on the whole pandemic at the moment?
Yeah, just get on with your life. Do you know what I mean? That's what makes the British great. We just get on with things when there's bad stuff. You've had a lot of good community spirit come back, which has been really nice with all the applause for all the key workers and the NHS staff and everything. So that's been really nice.
Yeah,
it's quite
fantastic.
nice. It's been great. So it's just nice to have a bit of community spirit, and everyone's been really good. And even when I popped out for shopping and things, everyone sort of adhered to all the right social distancing precautions and stuff. So for me personally, I don't tend to pay too much attention to it. Obviously it's on the news and everything, but I mean, I just respect the rules that are in place and just go about your life. This was all you can do, isn't it? So it's obviously terrible. You obviously sort of feel for obviously a lot of families and things have dealt with all the bad parts of this, but from me personally, you just get on with your life. It's kind of, that's all you can do, isn't it?
Yeah, it is all you can do. You've just got to carry on ticking through it, haven't you? Really. I mean, I've sort of said a couple of days ago, I feel a bit down on that, but actually, sort of want to look back on it. It could be a lot worse, as you said, Lewis. So everything, and it will come to an end. It's not this forever, and so what? We just get shut in.
Yeah. Like you said,
that's it, isn't it? So.
Yeah, exactly. That's like you say, you've got your health, you've got your happiness, you've got your family, you've got a roof over your head, you've got all the home comforts that a lot of people in other countries don't have. Do you know what I mean? Although it's obviously can be frustrating to be locked in, but at least like you said, it could be a lot worse. So I think that's what makes the British great. The whole stiff upper lip kind of thing.
Yeah, we've got to get on with it.
Yeah,
I think exactly. I think you've got to stay positive. But the main thing, everyone's just got to, just stick by the rules. Stay at home, wash your hands where necessary. All the time, wash your hands. And if you do have to go to the shops, just keep your distance, 2 meters, and just stay safe. That's all you can do, and stay positive, like you said, Lou. I mean, Sam. Obviously, we don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about this, because I think, podcasts aside, I think everybody can keep up to date with coronavirus, can watch the news, and if anything, you can't avoid it, but I think people want to move on from this. But equally, we can't ignore this. So, Sam, obviously last time when we did it, you mentioned about the stats and where we were. Would you like to sort of just reveal where we are so far now?
Absolutely.
As of tonight.
Yeah, of course. So obviously this has gone sky high, all these cases around the world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen just for the viewers. So if you can just confirm, guys, that you can see my screen.
Yeah, we've got it.
Yeah. So I'm back on the worldometers.info. Now, my wife made a really, really good point the other day, is because people aren't being tested anymore, this is only going on people that have been tested, So how accurate this is, I'm not too sure. But confirmed cases around the world is 1,083,596. And then the deaths are 58,150. But then still, the recovery rate is astronomical compared to the death rate, which it is a positive, isn't it? However, I think in the UK, the death rate, I think it's overtaken the recovery rate. I'm not too sure. But if we scroll down to this table here now, of 3 weeks ago, China was topping this with the majority of the cases. Now it's the USA. USA total cases, 266,000 now. Italy, Spain, Germany, China. China has gone right down there now, haven't they, with 81,000 cases. And UK are now rocketing, and they've actually got more, what was it I said earlier on, they've actually got more cases, more deaths, than China in total. So China's obviously done something to quarantine it in a way. But then, like Chris said a few weeks ago, we're a few weeks behind. I know it was Italy, but we're a few weeks behind. So hopefully we'll go more down the China route. Then, as you can see, Italy on there, 14,000 deaths in Italy. Hopefully we'll go down more the route of the UK following China, and hopefully that the recovery rate will go down, the death rate will go down, the recovery rate go up, and the death rate will go down.
You've got to remember as well, for the sakes of Italy, it's got the highest population of older people, I think. So, I mean, the mortality rate is just going to be higher because there's more people in the country that have lower immunity than the rest of the world. So
my father-in-law made a really good point a couple of weeks back, and I'll see if you guys agree. It'd be interesting to know. He said that because Italy is quite a religious country, Catholic, I think the religion is. If you think on Sundays they go to their place of worship, and they dip their fingers in the holy water, and you think there's other people do that. They break the bread, don't they, and they have that placed in their mouth. I don't know if they're still doing that, but this is the tradition, isn't it? And this is going to be a reason why it's transmitted, if it's through contact and close distance, things like that.
But then I don't just think it's sort of religion as well. Obviously they are quite a religious country, but it's no more than, I mean, I suppose we've got the Vatican and everything like that, but I mean, Italians themselves is the culture in Italy to be quite sociable, quite sort of family oriented.
How do European countries say hello? How do they greet each other normally?
Exactly, yeah.
Kiss on the cheek each side usually, isn't it? So this is possibly a way of transmitting. What do you think, Lewis and Rye? Do you kind of agree or disagree? Do you have your opinion?
Yeah, I mean that could be a fair point there, Sam. But I think the main thing is it is all from contact, and it spreads. I think if everyone treats this lockdown seriously, eventually we'll get through this. We haven't quite found the peak yet, and like you say, if you go by those numbers, Sam, in terms of confirmed people that have recovered as opposed to died, it's positive to see that there's more people that have recovered than that have died out of that million cases plus. But there's still, a percentage, a huge percent of active cases that aren't, they haven't got a status report yet in terms of have they died or have they recovered. So that's why we're still going to see, unfortunately, hundreds of people dying every day. Yeah. So we haven't. That's something to consider. So there is, we can still prevent this, because some people might be looking at this and thinking, oh yeah, but everyone's staying at home and there's still thousands of people dying every day. That's sadly going to happen. But the more that we stay home and the more that we abide by the rules, the less the spread will be, and eventually we'll get to the other side. It's just so sad, the amount of people that are dying, but we'll get there. We will get there. And try and stay positive. But
it's amazing. It's amazing to see the knock-on effect that this is having now, though, because 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, there was talk of gigs being cancelled and things being delayed, and now we can officially confirm that a lot of stuff has now been cancelled. So again, if you look on my screen, I've got on here the official album charts, and first picture on here, 1975, and they've actually postponed their album now due to coronavirus. And look at that big one there. Now that's what I call Music 105. That's been cancelled.
We've got 104 others to enjoy.
That breaks my heart. That does. That's been delayed.
Alicia Keys has cancelled the release date. 1975 has cancelled it. Alanis Morissette, Willie Nelson, DMAs, Pretenders, Lady Gaga. That was a big one in the news, I think. She's cancelled hers, and then Sam Smith.
I want to delve into that because I'm intrigued to see what you guys think. But I have the only benefit, right, for them cancelling this is because obviously the way the music industry is, and obviously most of the people make their money off of the tours and the merchandise, the TV appearances, and that. There's no benefit to cancel it from a listening point of view because all people are doing is sitting indoors. So if you're indoors with nothing to do, you're gonna, and everyone's got a smart speaker and a smartphone, and you've got Spotify or Apple Music or Deezer or Tidal or Google Play or whatever you use. Everyone's got Amazon Music. Everyone's got some sort of service. You're going to generate far more revenue from people being locked in listening to it than you are trying to wait for the tours and stuff. Unless the artists don't have any faith in their ability as artists, and all they're concerned about is the visual side of it, and the spectacle and the tour is what makes their money. Do you know what I mean? I'm intrigued.
I think there's a certain trend, isn't there? When an album's released, it has a big impact, and then people instantly want to go and see that band live or that artist live. So I think if they release the album and then they can't tour for another 6 months or so, I think the fear is that from a record label standing point, that they're not going to make any money on tour because people are going to forget that it was released.
I think at the end of the day, it's a business, so they need to get maximum exposure. So just releasing an album, if you think about it, when someone releases an album, you'll see them on Jonathan Ross show, you'll see them on the James Corden Late Show a couple of days before the release. It's all to do with promotion, and that's what they've got to do. But if they're just going to release it on Spotify and just put on their Facebook feed, oh, we've released it, I think they're holding back because they need to make their money. And I understand what you're saying, Lewis, with Spotify, Amazon, Napster, Deezer, streaming is going to bring in the revenue. But on top of that, they want to sell CDs as well, don't they?
You've all made really good arguments in regard to that. But again, one counterpoint is Dua Lipa's just put her album out, Future Nostalgia. Obviously, that's like more of a retro 80s kind of model thing. It might not necessarily be our or all of our thing as an artist. Yeah. It's quite interesting that she's gone ahead and done it. And hers is like one of those sort of visual retro 80s kind of things. It's quite interesting because she maybe her label and her team have seen a different angle and they've gone, well, actually, we might have an opportunity here. Then they've put it out.
What I found interesting as well, I was watching TV earlier on, and changing the subject onto films, Trolls, the second Trolls film, they've decided to go straight to on demand. So I Googled it. I thought, well, why is that then? And they're the only film this year, I think, that is going straight on demand. James Bond's been pushed back to 2021. There's been a few other films all been pushed back to 2021, but Trolls have just taken the plunge. They've done £91 million budget on a £1.1 million box office. So hopefully this will work for them, just going straight on demand.
Some I've seen some films do that as well on Amazon. I think, is it Bloodshot or Vin Diesel?
Yeah,
that's gone straight onto Amazon. I think Emma as well. Invisible Man. There's a few things that have gone straight on, just like you said, like straight onto that. So, I mean, they're obviously sort of some companies are just seeing this as an opportunity, aren't they? I suppose.
Yeah, you're actually right.
Absolutely.
Disney have done that on the US Disney Plus. They've added Frozen 2 and Star Wars on there as well. Rise of Skywalker.
But I suppose it brings it, it brings it nicely onto the topic of the podcast, really. I suppose if all the big businesses and record labels are holding their artists back, for example, like the 1975 and Lady Gaga, well, now, is this the perfect time for YouTubers to sort of excel and showcase their talent and gain more fans? There's obviously going to be, we'll talk about YouTube as well in terms of, how it's helped people over the years and how it can still help people regardless of the lockdown. But at this moment in time, I suppose, could the independent artists kind of lead the way? Definitely.
I think it's a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that came from YouTube, that I personally remember, is Justin Bieber. He was putting up cover videos and he was doing drum covers, trumpet covers, vocal covers. And then Scooter Braun, I think his manager at the time, or is, he noticed them on YouTube and forwarded them on to Usher. Or was it Ludacris? But I think
no, you're right. Yeah, it was Usher, yeah.
Yeah, forwarded them on to Usher, and that's how he got spotted. And there's been lots of artists that have been found from YouTube, and I do think it's a very, very powerful tool now in our armory to get content out there, especially for free as well. I mean, I know you've got YouTube Premium, but what's that? You just skip ads on it. People, 90% of the population, I think, still going to use standard YouTube account, and I do think it's a very, very good tool to use.
No, absolutely. But I think complete right. And obviously YouTube for years has been a fantastic platform, and it's only getting stronger and stronger. But at this moment in time, I mean, Chris, what do you think? I mean, for artists that want to get their music out, whether it's originals, whether it's covers, would you say now's a stronger time to sort of release your music?
Oh, definitely. I definitely would say now is the right time to give that a go. I just think, it's obvious in a way because so many people will shut in, aren't we? So, especially in this country. So everyone's on YouTube all day. And everyone's on social media because that's all, a lot of people can do. So they're going to see it and it's going to get noticed much more, So I think now is a very good opportunity. Although this virus is, what's happened is awful, there are some positives that have come out of it, and it could be for new musicians trying to sort of find their way.
Absolutely. And we're seeing some isolated videos as well where, on Facebook as well, with the isolation room where people are streaming and performing live.
I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of bored of live streams. I know it's like harsh, but it's like I scroll through Facebook. It's like, someone else is doing a live stream, and they're just sort of sitting in the bathroom with an acoustic guitar, recording it on their phone. And it's just like, okay.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's like anything. Now is a great time for people to showcase their talent. But that's the point. Showcase your talent. There's going to be people that can't play. Do you know what I mean? It's the same. Like it's no different. It's no different to open mic nights. Do you know what I mean? You're going to get some incredibly talented singers there. They don't have the support of a band, don't have, a lot going for them, or they're too busy with their day-to-day careers and they don't get the chance to showcase their music, so they really excel. But you also get let's be honest, crap artists that just get up, their mums tell them they can sing, they get up on karaoke and they just sound terrible. Everyone's just so cringed out.
Yeah, I think Lewis and myself, we maybe you and Chris might know Ryan, we used to play a few gigs in a little hut nearby to us, didn't we, Lou? Back in the early days. Won't name the place.
That's where it all started for us.
Where it all started, and we turn up. Some nights you'd have some really good bands. Don't get me wrong, we was starting out then as well, so we might have been a load of rubbish when to the more experienced.
But we were 14.
We were full, but there were some older
Allowance
bands where you think they're just doing it to get out of the house for the weekend, get out of babysitting, things like that.
Yeah. Sorry, love, I'm gigging.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
But in our very first podcast, the history of the Peppermint Apes, we did talk about obviously when you joined the band, Sam, and some of the YouTube covers that we did, like Adore You, and obviously the one that you helped produce with Josh and Sam, and we did Love Me Like You Do. And that's a couple of videos in particular that really helped launch us a little bit, or relaunch us, because obviously we did things in the past. If people want to find out the history of the band, check out that podcast. We really go into detail, don't we, guys? But yeah, the good thing is like Adore You, Love Me Like You Do, they were covers that they got loads of views, didn't they, Sam? So they helped sort of broadcast out what we were doing, and gave us more subscribers, more followers on Facebook. I mean, on that though, obviously, is that the way forward, do we think, guys? Could you put your originals out and be successful, or do you think for bands that are trying to start out, should they focus on covers only?
Now, this is what I see. So when I'm on Facebook, there's a few bands who I follow on Facebook, and don't get me wrong, they're good bands, but they're just purely originals. I do think I heard it on a YouTube video that I watched a few weeks ago. Some chap said that if you want to be successful at gigs, you should at least put a few covers in your set. Don't just be a primarily originals band, unless you're quite established. So when you are playing these gigs, do 2 songs, chuck a cover in, another 2 songs, chuck a cover in. Even if you change a cover up, do that. Same with YouTube as well. The trick with YouTube that I found is it's the timing that you can get to get the videos up. So for instance, we're currently recording this new cover. I think we'll discuss it later on, and which Lewis found after going to see the band at the gig. He heard the song at the gig, came back, found a recording on YouTube, and we've worked to it. And I think because of the song's not released yet, we've got that little one up. There are some versions of the song on YouTube. Yeah. But we're probably about the 6th one to do it in the world, I think, at the moment. So they're kind of getting a head start, but it is all about timing. That's how Adore You and Love Me Like You Do came quite successful on YouTube. It was all to do with the timing. So we managed to get the videos up in a matter of days after the song was released, and that's how it became so successful.
Can I ask a question, actually? So I was thinking the other day, the Ellie Goulding one, that's a Love Me Like You Do, wasn't it? That one was, did you use the fact that it was in the film 50 Shades of Grey as a sort of to launch it more than the actual song release? Yeah. I noticed the title, it said 50 Shades of Grey, and I noticed when you posted it was literally sort of the same week as when the film was released. And I know how successful the film was. So I think that's probably more, it got noticed that way. People heard, saw the film, thought, well, what's that song? And then they type that in or Shazam it or something like that, and then it comes up links to your cover of it.
Yeah, that was the idea. That was the motivation. Because, you've got to be clever, you've got to be smart, you've got to think outside the box. You've got to know what's coming, you've got to know the size and the strength of the artist in their career at that point, because at the end of the day, like Ryan made a good point, and we've all sort of discussed it on this, well, actually, to be fair, you said it best when you said just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it, if it's not good. And that's the thing. What separates you from every other artist, because how many times have you gone on Facebook now? Let's use Facebook ads and marketing as a good idea. It's a great idea that it's available to everyone, which is brilliant because that's democracy at its finest. But, it doesn't necessarily mean someone's content is great or it's brilliant. And that could even include us. Do you know what I mean? Some people could hate what we do, which is fair enough. You can't please everyone. But and so that's in the same vein as, when you choose a song to do it, having your goal originally and the aim behind it is so important. And so with that song, what makes us different to every other band trying to do a cover thing? We know that, we all think that we're good because we've put a lot of hours into doing what we do. I don't think there should be any shame in saying we've spent hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, individually, let alone collectively, on being good at what we do. And you know, but that's not often enough. How many good bands and good artists or good performers are in any industry do you see that don't necessarily make it? So what do you do that's different? And that's when we saw an opportunity for that song before it was released, and the artist and the magnitude of the film, that because of all the press and all that sort of thing that it was getting, that we thought, well, maybe we can use this to our advantage and, you know, tie that all in. And that's exactly what we actually did with the Miley Cyrus one as well, because that was sort of during a rebellious phase, you know, where she was headlines for everything, and this video was supposedly quite sort of, for lack of a better term, semi-erotic. And so that got loads of kind of like headlines. So we thought, right, well, stuff it. I mean, we're not going to get Ryan with his shirt off, but...
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, that would have got them... Think of them views.
Can you imagine that video Ryan on a wrecking ball?
Yes, yes, I can.
Ryan under the bed sheets.
Give it a sledgehammer.
I'm not doing that again.
Gosh, you'd had thousands for repairs.
Yeah. But yeah, so like the Miley Cyrus one got about 30,000 views. It wasn't her biggest song, but because of the video content and stuff, it did well. And then the Ellie Goulding one eventually ended up getting just under 600,000 views. So for a small band from Essex, that, you know, to have nearly 1 million views on your video, to lead to Ryan's earlier question, is it better than gigging? Well, how many times would you have had nearly a million people see you perform? You know,
exactly. You just get you target an audience and it just explodes. So.
It's all about choosing the correct song, though, because when we first done the YouTube covers, we said this in the previous podcast, when Katy Perry released her album, it was Raw, that was the big one. When Ollie Murs released his album, it was Thinking of Me. I now know the song. Thinking of Me was the big one. And then we done Hand on Heart. Now, these were like the third singles on the album. By that time, the album's been out probably a few months. The buzz has died down a little bit. So I think that's why they didn't get as successful on their video.
What I would make, actually, because I've been doing in the week at my lunch break, I've been doing a little bit of research, and I had noticed, I just went back and sort of typed in sort of Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, the Marvel film that came out in 2014, and because the actual soundtrack of that film was almost more famous than the actual film itself, and they used a lot of 70s songs, sort of 70s soul, 70s glam rock was sort of in those films. And I saw a few bands had done covers of the songs on that and used Guardians of the Galaxy in the title, and it had like, you know, 500,000 views, and they just literally used the fact that film was out and everyone was going crazy. You know what I mean? They had, I think the film itself, they sold CDs, didn't they? So, you know, it had a soundtrack CD that you could buy that had all these songs on it. It had like Spirit in the Sky, you know, fooled around and fell in love, and 10cc, You're Not in Love, and everything like that. You know, songs that have basically been forgotten, but just all of a sudden sort of recycled and become really famous again just because of this film, and bands had really utilised that. So I think there's definitely sort of an answer for it.
Absolutely, and that's the benefit to films and all kind of different media platforms, is it does give the artist strength, doesn't it, to grow and like I say, remarket their old material. But one other question really to you guys, and especially you, Sam, as well, because obviously you've always been quite keen with pushing the YouTube presence for the band. Are we in an era now? Are we going down the road soon, do you think, where people don't necessarily need a record label? There's always going to be I suppose, a demand and an advantage to having a label, obviously, that will invest money into your promotion and obviously get you on the big TV slots and pay for you to support big bands to grow your fan base. But if it's done correctly, is YouTube all you need? Can we sort of boycott the traditional way of making it?
Well, there's a lot of independent labels on YouTube. There's one called Ghost Killer Entertainment. Now, I don't think they're a label. They mainly specialise in pop punk songs and, you know, the kind of genty genre of music, that kind of heavy pop rock stuff. And I don't think they're a label, but they just post videos every single day of bands that are on their books, really, and they get loads and loads of views. Now, going back to your question, I don't think a label is as big now as it was back in the day, just because of the exposure you can get onto YouTube. As long as it's done right.
There's so many bands as well that sort of self-fund it. I don't know. You've seen last year there was something called Pledge for Music, which they fell under lots of lawsuits and everything like that. So I won't go into anything like that. But you know, bands now will say to their fans that have come to see them at gigs and supported them on social media, look, we want to write an album, but we don't have any money. So, if you want an album, pledge, sort of. And I think for the fans' point of view, it probably feels like they're part of the album more.
Yeah. I think a really good band, an example of a band who have done phenomenally from YouTube is Boyce Avenue. Now, that they are very, very good. All mainly acoustic stuff. I'm sure you guys know Boyce Avenue. For people who don't know Boyce Avenue they just do lots of covers, acoustic covers, very, very nice covers. They get guests on now. They even get famous people, famous artists on their videos now. They're so established. I actually went to watch them at the Roundhouse a few years back. And now this was quite an interesting gig I went to. So me, my sister, my wife, her husband and a friend of theirs came with us to watch them. And we're going up there and we're like, I hope they play this, hope they play that, hope they play these songs. We was expecting covers. The whole night was originals. Now, It wasn't a bad gig, but we went expecting originals. And I was sitting there thinking, covers, sorry. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, I wonder how many other people in this room were thinking the same as me. There was people down on the floor. We was up in the stalls, but there was people down on the floor, and they were all dancing, singing. I'm thinking, okay, they're the fan. But up here, I wonder if people are expecting the covers, because that's what they're most known for. And they've used YouTube as their platform. And I'm not sure whether they've got a record deal. I think they're just so established now on YouTube. They don't need a deal.
I think that's the fine line, isn't it? I suppose if you kind of get known for playing covers and all your fan base, they love certain songs. Like, for example, if we released another song and it was as big as Love Me Like You Do or Adore You, and we went and we announced that we were going to tour next year, you'd kind of feel like you'd have to play those songs because in a way that you are a product, aren't you? And people are paying, if you went, I'm not being funny, if you went to see Bon Jovi, you'd kind of feel a little bit shortchanged if you didn't play Living,
their biggest songs.
On a prayer, something like that, It's one of those things, if you're a hardcore fan, you probably would like to hear different things, but the majority of people in the audience, they want to hear what they know. But at the same time, I think it's brilliant that you can sort of use YouTube and play covers and, grow your fan base and then showcase your originals. But at the same time, I think you've got to be very clear on what your tour's about. And when you get to a level where people are liking your original covers, you can then release your originals on Spotify, make a big deal out of it, and then say to people, right, these are the songs that we're going to play at the gigs. But it's a balance, isn't it? Because if all you do is covers, and then all of a sudden you just play loads of originals that no one's heard, you're probably naturally going to be disappointed, aren't you, as a fan?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, I've sort of got 2 points to develop on the back of that. One is, I think you're absolutely right, Ryan. And the interesting thing is, it's not only YouTube now that is a big platform for sort of progression for original artists. Ryan and Chris, I know this sort of hip hop and all that isn't really your thing. It's not my biggest thing, but I quite enjoy it. And I think, Sam, you might have a bit of a background. SoundCloud is the biggest thing for the hip hop genre. Hip hop in the USA, Sam will be able to pull a lot of this up on the screen. In the USA, hip hop and rap is now the most popular genre, overtaking rock. It took it over a couple of years ago now, so it's the most prevalent genre of music. And SoundCloud seems to be a massive part of that because it was where a lot of artists uploaded their stuff, like Juice WRLD, for example, who's huge, as it started off there. I don't know if you could pull up a list, Sam, of hip hop and rap artists that got famous off of SoundCloud, but that's ingrained in the culture, and that they've got. That's now also become saturated, obviously, I think, from my understanding, with up-and-coming artists trying to do the same thing. But
just literally gone to the Google, and I'll just share my screen again. So you'll see literally top...
The Google.
The Google. And so, there you go. Post Malone, he was found on there. Chance the Rapper, Little Dicky, all found on there.
Migos, 21 Savage.
Extent.
What a name.
Yeah. Post Malone, 21 Savage, Little Peep, Denzel Curry, Chance the Rapper. He's getting big now, isn't he? Chance the Rapper. Migos, Little Dicky. I love that song, the Earth song.
We love the Earth.
Yeah, it's Our Planet, Lil Pump. So SoundCloud is a massive platform. Now we've got content as Peppermint Apes on SoundCloud. Lewis, we've got content on there from Pretty Strange Thing and Havana Sun. Because it was a free platform. Now, this was a good question I wanted to ask Lewis, actually, because Lewis, you're quite well up there when it comes to distribution of music. Obviously, YouTube is free. SoundCloud is free. When is it necessary now to push your stuff out onto Spotify and iTunes when you've got all this free ways? That you've even got Is it Bandcamp now? That's still going. You can distribute music like that. I know these aren't as popular as Spotify and things, but as a starting point, I think these are brilliant tools for musicians where you don't really necessarily go down the paid distribution route.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really good question. It depends. It depends on or at least for me personally, this is my own personal perspective on it. It depends on what your end goal is, right? So if you want to cater to everybody, you have to be on Spotify, Amazon, Deezer, Tidal, Apple, whatever you use, because people don't want to make an effort. You know, we're in an era now where everything is handed to you on a silver platter instantly. Yeah. So let's look at Netflix, right? The new series comes out. Everyone goes, if it's not an episode all in one, a season all in one go, people aren't happy anymore. Forgetting the fact for hundreds of years or however long TV's been around, you know, we've watched things episodically. So everyone wants everything now. So if you're trying to tell people if you want to hear this, you've got to go there. You've got to do this. You've got to download this. You've got to make an account. You've got to listen to it only on this app. You can't have it here. If this app isn't as well funded as something else, you can't cast it onto your TV. You can't use it on your smart speaker. These are all important considerations depending on what your aim is. So if you want to, you know, your demographic and your end goal is the everyman, you know, the person who's just on the train in the morning, who's getting on the bus, they're driving in their car, and in their cars integrate with Spotify or whatever, you know, that's your aim, then that's perfect. That's where you want to aim. And in terms of distribution, it's not that expensive. So if you use companies like CD Baby, DistroKid, other ones like that, it's only about 20 quid a year for them to help you get all your music up on those platforms. And then if memory serves, you pretty much keep all the royalties as well. So if you look at traditional labels, and like Sam, you'll know, and Chris, you'll probably have an idea on this as well, labels now do 360 deals. So they don't just take, like they give you an advance, you do the record, you keep all your merch. Now they don't make any money on the record sales, so they take money off your merch. That's why if you look at every big tour, Sam, can you pull up a list of the most successful tours for the last couple of years, right? Look at the length of them. They're all about 18 months minimum. So that shows you the offset of losing their money in record sales. You know, they have to tour for nearly 2 years to make the same level of profit.
Yeah, to make it back. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and Sam will probably be able to find the top grossing tours, but they usually tell you, band or artist A made X amount, and it will tell you the length of the tour. It'll be like 18 months, 12 months, you know, whatever it is. Some tours are like 3 years.
Yeah, so without going too deep into the Google again, I've just literally typed in highest grossing tours, and you can see it, Elton John, $82.6 million. This is of 2019. But even that, I mean, you've got Paul McCartney there, 40.7. Ed Sheeran, 63.6 million for their tours.
And that's this year alone.
Well, this was in 2019. So
oh, sorry, yeah.
I'm not too sure how long their tours were. So they are making a lot from their tours.
Yeah. So and that's the point. You know, that's how they do it. But if you're distributing your music, say even if you don't make, I think the Spotify play rate is like 0.09p or something like that. You have to there's calculations, you can find it really comfortably of how many thousands of streams you'd need to make the minimum wage in the UK. But if that's all your money, at least it's all your money as an independent without any cut going out, you know. But then the offset is, do you have the support to get a tour? But then to even get that, you've got to get a back in, and you've got to get the support and the belief of the label and the A&R people that you're going to, you know, reproduce the money in the investment. So it's all a catch-22. But I think, you know, if you want to be an independent artist, you want to cater to everyone, then pay 20 quid to get your music on all these platforms, and you're going to reap all the rewards yourself. No one's going to take any money other than you.
I think that's a really good, valid point there, Lou. And I think you're right. I think if you're not, you know, on every single platform, you then become a bit of an inconvenience, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
As opposed to a pleasure.
Yeah.
But one other thing I just want to mention about YouTube as well, guys, is pretty much, I think the good thing is, you know, we're going to keep using this platform. We're going to release as much content as possible. And just like this podcast, I think we like to sort of try and help other people that are, you know, maybe following our journey. We don't claim to be superstars, do we, guys? At the end of the day, we're guys that have jobs, etc. We love doing what we do, and if we can help other people, then happy days. We can learn from people as well if they leave us comments with ideas, and we check out other bands as well to get ideas. But one thing that we're doing as well is we're trying to maximise our potential at the moment, and obviously with the lockdown, we've got time to make music. So, Lou, do you want to sort of share what we're doing as a project at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, as we were talking about in the topic of this podcast, we've always been really passionate about the YouTube thing. We've always collectively got a lot out of it. We've really enjoyed it, like the whole process. So in amongst of sort of keeping ourselves busy and active during this time, as well as doing obviously the podcast and chatting together and just trying to kind of keep our own enjoyment up of everything, we've kind of managed to put a cover video together, all remotely again, which has been a lot of fun. I've got to say, Sam, you've been absolutely unbelievable. Because so this, as Ryan will tell you, this was actually my idea, this one. I went to see a band that I really love, and they played a new song off their album that's not out yet. And I was just so captured by it as soon as they played it. And then the thing is, when I realised afterwards that after they played it, within one day of the first day of that tour, the whole audience had learnt it off the previous day's YouTube video and was singing it, and they knew the words and everything. And I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. But Sam has had to put together this track. There's no real track. There's no official released version. So he's had to try and orchestrate and put together an entire song from a YouTube recording, basically, and try and do it justice, which has been unbelievable. So you've done an absolutely spectacular job. So obviously it's we're not going to reveal the name of it yet, just purely because the song's not actually out. So it's not going to get you too excited until you hear it. But Sam, if you want to share a little bit of the story of how this song came together and who's a part of it, and it's going to feature our first collaboration, right?
Yeah. So like you said, Lou, all I had to work with was a live track. You sent me it on WhatsApp. I sat and listened to it, and I kind of broke it apart and heard the drums. Drums are loudest, of course, so managed to work out drum parts. And there are a few videos on YouTube as well of the guitar and bass and vocals, and so I think you guys were able to work from that as well. And then you've gone out, you've got your own recording stations. I know Lou, you had one already. Ryan, you're borrowing one of mine, and Chris went out and got his own one. And you've managed to record your instruments and send them over to me, and I've managed to mix it. There's a chap on YouTube who's doing a saxophone for us. So on this song, there's a saxophone solo, and I've done it on a programmed sax. I sat and watched his video, and I just worked out note for note what he's doing. And I just sat and I just slid up the scale until I found the right note. I'm not great music theory like you, Lou. I know you know theory amazingly well, and you can hear the notes. Whereas me, I struggle a little bit when it comes to that. So I listened to it, went through it all, and done the mix, sent it over to you. And Lou, you came back and said, look, the sax isn't really convincing me. And although this was a very good saxophone synth, it just wasn't cutting the mustard. So this chap, he's done a cover on YouTube. And he's agreed to record live sax for us on the choruses and the solos. He's going to get it done for us by this Sunday. So obviously today's the 3rd, and then this Sunday, if I just find the date, this Sunday he's going to the 5th on this Sunday. So he should have the track over to us. He might even send it. See, I've got to check my emails. Really great lad. So we're going to put him in the video as well. He's going to video it, because the least we can do is give him a little bit of credit as well. But I'm really looking forward to it. Glad you guys are liking the mix so far. Ryan, I know your dad's had a few. Your dad's also had a comment as well. Being an experienced bass player, he's put his comments on it as well, which is great.
Yeah,
I managed to work back to it as well.
No, it's been good. We're literally recording our individual parts and just sending them by email, weren't we? With our Dropbox, and then you've been mixing them together. So
I think artists have been doing this for a few. Like we live in. I released a video the other day onto the Facebook, and we live in the era of technology now, and I think it was even I think Ed Sheeran and Bieber. I think when they released that song, I can't remember the song.
I Don't Care.
I Don't Care. I'm not too sure if factually correct this is. I might be getting the wrong song, but Justin Bieber and an artist recorded a song, and they never met each other. They just sent the parts. They one recorded in the UK, one recorded in England and in America, and they sent the parts over. And that's just the way it's done now. And if you can produce a good enough instrument sample or your track, then it can be mixed anywhere. It's just the way we live now. It's not gone to the days where you've got to have even videos on YouTube back this up. You don't have to go into a £1 million studio anymore. you can equally produce music from your bedroom. Like, I'm sitting in my summer house, and we can.
I'm actually sitting in my bedroom.
Yeah,
Exactly.
No, I think the best thing we can do, guys, is stay positive. And this is one video that we're working on, but we're going to try and upload as many videos as we can, really, aren't we?
Yeah, another thing we're working on as well, coming away from the music side, is our podcast. And Ryan, I know yourself and me last night, we was chatting on Skype here, and we was working out how we can stream live to YouTube and Facebook. And I've managed to find
that's the next plan, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've managed to find a bit of software where you can multiple streams out to YouTube and Facebook from a single interface. And we had a private YouTube link last night, didn't we? And we managed to.
I watched you on the telly.
You watched it on the TV, did you? Yeah, I was just sitting there. I've managed to work out. I've got a little Newmark mixing desk here. I've had this for years, back in my DJ days. And it's a little USB interface, and it works on virtual DJ, and I can load music onto it. So even while we're doing live streams, I can bring music into the background. I don't think you guys will be able to hear it, but I can basically produce it from my end and do all camera shot changes and overlays of things like that. And then we can answer questions live. So it's just things like that.
that's a good point. Like, if anyone's got any questions on any of this stuff that interests you, like if anyone's listening and they're interested in, making things like this happen, like you've got an interest in making your own songs, your own music, how it's done, or anything that we can help with, ask away, because we're always happy to answer and delve into things and show you how everyone's got set up.
Yeah, exactly. Leave us a comment for that, and we can try and help you. And equally, if you've got any tips for us on what we could do differently, we're learning as well. With podcasts in general, obviously at the moment, because we're all self-isolating, that's why we're doing the whole Skype video. But the main thing is, for example, you can see Sam, he's got a professional mic. All the other boys have got microphones. I've had to come into the lounge, like I said, because of a poor connection. But that's the next step, really, is just updating equipment, and just making the podcast as good as they can be. But no, thanks very much, guys, for everything that you've done. Obviously, but thanks to you guys as well for doing this podcast tonight, and you, Sam, for all the mixing you've been doing recently.
No worries. My pleasure doing it. It's great fun. What on a personal note, so obviously we're all in isolation at the moment. I don't know, you guys are all working from home as well. Are you enjoying it? Is it different for you?
Personally, it's a bit different. Obviously, my day job is I'm an estate agent, and at the moment it's very hard to conduct valuations, viewings. There's not many exchanges that are going through. The company I work for, they're going strong, but they've had to save the business and to keep people employed. They've put us on the furlough program, a lot of us anyway. So at the moment, I've got free time, so I'm trying to keep busy personally. But loads of sort of jobs to do in the house and other things I want to do at the moment, like online courses. There's also podcasts I want to catch up on, but just try and learn new skills and brush up things as well. But definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, one thing I'm going to be focusing on is YouTube and trying to write new songs for the band. And we've also agreed to learn loads of new songs for the live set, haven't we? So it just gives us, there's no excuse really for us not to make music. What about you guys? Chris, what have you been up to since the lockdown?
Oh, I've been working, but because I work, basically architecture. So, but because Boris announced that all the building sites are going to have to be shut, the company I work for, therefore, we're not making any money because no one's going to be paying us to do drawings. So, I'm going on furlough on Monday, actually. So, the company's still there, but I'm going to, similar to you now, Ryan, as of Monday evening, I'm sort of going to be twiddling my thumbs a little bit. So it's going to be a lot of guitar practice, and I bought myself a plug-in today, so I'm going to be sort of recording guitar stuff and that, and sharing it with you guys. So yes, it's like I said, it's almost like a positive in a way, but
yeah. And if anyone's watching and they don't know what furlough is throughout this time, it's almost like temporary leave, but instead of being unpaid leave, the government are paying 80% of your wages. Some companies might top up the other 20%, but generally speaking, it's 80% of your wages. You're not allowed to work in that time, so it's kind of like you're paid to be at home, really, and adapt around it. I mean, Lewis and Sam, I mean, start with you, Lewis. I mean, what have you been up to?
Yeah, just literally working from home again, and I'm one of the sort of people that are really fortunate that the industry that I work in, which is financial services, although I'm technically an IT engineer, our company is essentially online based in a way in terms of the services and products, etc. So I'm able to work from home. The company's able to function completely normal as if we're in the office. So I'm just as busy as I was in the office. Every day is really, really busy. It's really good, really exciting, all that kind of stuff. So, it's business as usual for me, really, just by the nature of the industry that I work in. And so the nice thing is that I'm able to sort of be at home more, do other things, avoid the commute, which is really, really nice. That's quite a positive aspect. But yeah, we're still working as hard as ever, as busy as ever. I'm just fortunate that I'm in a position where everything that we do is, at least for me personally, exactly the same as if I was in the office, really. We can do pretty much our entire job remote, which is really helpful.
That's quite handy with IT, definitely. What about you, Sam?
So I'm in a similar kind of situation as Lewis. My company, I work for an audio-visual company, so we install like home cinemas and smart homes and things like that. But I do a lot of the networking side of things and programming, so a lot of the things that I can do is remote. Yeah, sometimes I have to go on site, install a few things, and physically wire stuff up. But a lot of my job role is system design and things like that, so I can do a lot remotely as well. And this is actually probably the first time I ever had to work from home. So adapting to it's quite strange. But the phone's still ringing. I'm getting my colleagues emailing me and texting me asking for assistance. Can I dial into this site? Can I VPN into this site? And that's what I mean. And all day today, I've been on the phone to customers, FaceTiming them on how to fix their problems that they've got. So I'm kind of in a similar situation to Lewis. But unfortunately, we work on a lot of building sites as well, because we do a lot of first fix, second fix, and things like that. So the site engineers, it's getting a bit difficult to go out and do the work. But if the site's empty, we'll still go out. We'll still go there if the site foreman will allow us to go out there.
Mm.
As long as you take your precautions, that's all you can do, isn't it, really?
Yeah. We because we go into a lot of people's houses, we do a thing called a COVID check. So we ring them up, make sure everyone's in good health, make sure they've been isolating, and make sure that no one's been outside of the family, the home. And we always have a duty of care for that as well. So we make sure that we're all in good health as well. So we make sure it's two ways, basically. We have to make sure everyone's safe.
Exactly. Cool. So just before we wrap this podcast up then, guys, we'll go around quickly. For any musicians out there, maybe they're young musicians just starting out, or maybe they're experienced musicians, they're used to gigging on a weekly basis, and they've hit a bit of a wall. They don't really know what to do. What would your advice be to musicians out there? And perhaps we'll start with Lewis.
Oh, wow. That's a big question. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Again, firstly, obviously, just keep going, keep practicing, keep learning, keep trying. There's always something new. So, whilst you've got a bit more free time, there's a lot more you can explore. There's like when you've got normal life constraints, or, if you're at school, your college, university, you're working, whatever you're doing, you've got other commitments, so you don't have the same amount of time. But with the extra time, you can invest it in yourself. You can learn something new, learn a new genre. If you've got an interest in music production, try and delve into some of that. There's a whole world out there in this that even from, it wasn't that long ago since we were young aspiring musicians, but even in the 10 odd years since we started out, the technology is completely different now. Everyone has access to amazing stuff in their house, and there's some amazing creative people out there that can do that can utilize that as well. As Chris mentioned, like some amazing guitar plugins, you can have the sound of a Marshall stack through your computer now, so there's plenty of things to be inspired by. Try and push yourself, try and learn something new, and try and indulge in your sort of impulses. Anything that intrigues you, try it out. Whether that's music theory, whether that's learning to read music, to understand more, learn notes. You've got so much more time, so just try and push yourself out your comfort zone and see where you end up.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. No, cheers, Luke. Sam, let's go to you, mate.
I'll just basically echo what Lewis said. I will just say that equipment, so music production, you haven't got you haven't got to spend a fortune on it anymore. When I first started out doing music production, I would literally plug straight into my laptop to the microphone input via a headphone out on a guitar amp, and I used to record that way and stuff. But you can go on Amazon now, you can buy condenser microphones, USB ones for 13 quid. There's actually a chap on YouTube called Rumi, and he does a comparison between a £13,000 microphone and a £12 microphone, and he says some of the tests, the £13,000 one is going to do the job, but the £12 one, it done the job for him on majority of the songs. So you can go out and buy them, and you can buy interfaces, like a little 2-channel interface for 40 quid or something. And if you just buy yourself one of them, you could make a whole entire song from it. It's the possibilities are endless now. There's no need to go over the top to buy equipment anymore. So like Lewis said, if you want to learn a new thing, you haven't got to break the bank to buy these kind of things. We've only got this kind of equipment because we're experienced musicians. We've been playing for years and years, so we've just kind of accumulated as we've been going along. That's all it is, really. So I'd say, if you're an aspiring musician, definitely look into production sides as well, because you might be well recording your own material.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. Cheers, Sam. I'll just quickly say before I go to you, Chris, I think the biggest thing is now is a great time to showcase your talent on YouTube. If you're a gigging band, do what we're doing. Send each other, if you can get the, software. There's the stuff you can download. You got Logic, Cubase, Reaper. We've been using, isn't it, Sam? Reaper is the software.
Yeah. Lewis and myself have been using Reaper since college, and it's a free bit of software. There is a license to it, but you can use it for free, and I've never had a problem with it. Sorry to interject there.
No, that's great. No, it's cool, man. And I think, like I say, it's good for people to, write songs. You can send each other ideas, and even if you're not sending each other ideas, just pick up that acoustic and whatever you've got, and just think of ideas. And if you need to add to the set, all learn songs. And depends on what levels you are. This is the time so you can practice your instrument and grow. But the biggest thing I'll just say before I pass to you, Chris, I think what you can do, what I do, and everyone's different, to keep me motivated, because I'm used to, as well as obviously gigging with you guys, rehearsing and being busy with the band, with the job I do, the career, I'm always busy. I'm always working like 8 in the morning till sometimes 8, 9 o'clock at night, working my days off occasionally. It's quite full on. To suddenly not have that, you kind of feel a bit of a loss. So how do you keep yourself busy? Well, I keep a structure every single day, other than weekends, but Monday to Friday, I have a little checklist of things that I want to achieve that day, whether it's silly things like tidy the house or whatever it is, or watch an online video, whatever it is. It could be music related. Obviously, you want to write a song, or you might want to learn a song. Whatever it is, have a little structure, and there's so much you can do at the moment. Chris, what would your advice be to musicians at the moment?
Just give up.
Chris Jones, ladies and gentlemen, the optimist of the band.
Good man.
Start it all in. No point.
Just stop now.
Yeah, no.
You can't ever be disappointed.
Yeah, you can't ever be disappointed in yourself. You just give up.
That's it.
No point being a musician. Crap.
Retire.
Quit while you're at no.
Just get the Doritos
in all seriousness, jokes aside, don't give up. I've nearly given up before on a couple of occasions, and the only way that I've sort of found myself coming back to it is finding something else that influences me. So that can be whether it's a new band or a guitar player, just anything like that, really. Or go and buy a new guitar. Why not? But that's what I get in trouble for. It's like, oh, you've got another guitar? Yeah, I'm bored, so I hit a wall, so I need a new guitar.
Inspiration.
Yeah, but no, just sort of keep headstrong, and guitar for me and music has brought me enough frustration, blood, sweat, and tears, or literal tears, in the years, as it's given me, happiness. So, it is worth it in the end, and there is an end goal to it. But there doesn't even have to be an end goal. You can just enjoy it. So, but yeah, just stick at it, really, and find something else that influences you.
I think we've all kind of gone through, like you said, Chris, the blood, sweat, and tears. When you first learn an instrument physically, like learning an instrument is difficult. You get your hands used to it. you're going to get blisters. I'm talking literally as well. I know you're saying blood, sweat and tears as the saying, but literally you're going to get blisters on your fingers. You're going to get calluses on your skin.
You're going to get
things like
drumstick
that.
in your eye.
Oh yeah. I thought you were going to say
something else then.
No, I actually put a
drumstick in
drums, Sam. But Lewis will witness me here on a rehearsal in college. I actually counted into 4, and on the 4th beat, my stick went up straight into my eyeball.
You had to go to hospital and everything, didn't you?
Yeah, I've actually got damage in my eye to this day from it. So it doesn't affect
Chris
my vision.
has cried, Sam's bled, and sweated.
Yeah, lost his eyesight temporarily.
I think the message to this really is just stay safe, stay positive and make the most out of the situation. Make as much music as you can if you're musicians, learn what you can, and we'll get through, there'll be light at the end of the tunnel. We'll get there. Yeah, so, brilliant. But no, you guys take care and look forward to the next podcast.
See you later, guys.
See you later, Jed.
See you later.
So thanks for watching this podcast, guys. Any questions, feel free to leave us a comment. Please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to grow this and we're going to bring you loads more podcasts in the future and music. So please subscribe and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/the Peppermint Apes. Take care.